Today our topic is how Stoics dealt with loneliness. Loneliness is something everyone feels at some point. It can be hard, but the Stoics, who were ancient philosophers, had ways to handle it. They believed in focusing on what we can control and accepting what we cannot. This idea can help us deal with loneliness. First, let's understand what loneliness is. It is not just being alone. You can be in a crowd and still feel lonely. Loneliness is the feeling of being disconnected from others, of not having meaningful relationships or feeling understood. The Stoics knew that loneliness is a natural part of life. They did not run away from it or try to ignore it. Instead, they faced it with courage and used it as a chance to grow. One of the most important Stoic ideas is that we cannot control everything in life. We cannot control other people, how they feel, or whether they want to be with us. But we can control how we respond to our feelings. When we feel lonely, we can choose to see it as a problem or as an opportunity. The Stoics would say it is an opportunity. They believed that being alone gives us time to think, to reflect, and to understand ourselves better. Instead of fearing loneliness, they embraced it as a time for self-improvement. They used it to build their inner strength and to become more independent. Epictetus, a famous Stoic philosopher, said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This means that loneliness itself is not the problem. The problem is how we think about it. If we see loneliness as something terrible, it will make us feel worse. But if we see it as a chance to learn and grow, it can help us become stronger. The Stoics taught that we should not depend too much on others for our happiness. True happiness comes from within. When we are alone, we have the chance to find that inner happiness. Another Stoic philosopher, Marcus Aurelius, wrote in his book Meditations about the importance of focusing on what we can control. He said that worrying about things we cannot change only makes us suffer. When we feel lonely, we often think about how we wish things were different. We wish we had more friends or that people understood us better. But these thoughts only make us feel worse. Instead, Marcus Aurelius would tell us to focus on what we can do right now. We can read a book, write in a journal, or take a walk in nature. These activities can help us feel more connected to the world and to ourselves. The Stoics also believed in the power of gratitude. When we feel lonely, it is easy to focus on what we do not have. But the Stoics taught us to focus on what we do have. They believe that being grateful for the good things in our lives can help us feel better. For example, if you are alone, you can be grateful for the quiet time you have to think or to do something you enjoy. You can be grateful for the people who are in your life, even if they are not with you right now. Gratitude helps us see the positive side of things and reminds us that we are not completely alone. Another way the Stoics dealt with loneliness was by understanding that everything in life is temporary. Feelings come and go, including loneliness. Just because you feel lonely today does not mean you will feel lonely forever. The Stoics believed in accepting the present moment as it is, without trying to change it. They knew that resisting our feelings only makes them stronger. Instead, they accepted their loneliness and used it as a time to reflect and grow. They understood that life is full of ups and downs, and that loneliness is just one part of the journey. The Stoics also believed in the importance of community and helping others. Even though they valued independence, they knew that humans are social beings. We need connections with others to feel fulfilled. But the Stoics did not rely on others for their happiness. Instead, they focused on being good friends and helping others. They believed that by giving to others, we can feel more connected and less lonely. For example, if you feel lonely, you can volunteer or spend time with someone who needs help. This can help you feel more connected to the world and give you a sense of purpose. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, wrote about the importance of living a meaningful life. He believed that when we have a purpose, we are less likely to feel lonely. A purpose gives us something to focus on and helps us feel more fulfilled. For example, If you love painting, you can spend your time alone creating art. If you enjoy writing, you can write stories or poems. Having a purpose helps us feel more connected to the world and gives us a reason to keep going, even when we feel lonely. The Stoics also believed in the power of self-discipline. When we feel lonely, it is easy to fall into bad habits like spending too much time on social media or eating unhealthy food. But the Stoics taught us to use our time wisely. They believed that self-discipline is the key to a good life. By practicing self-discipline, we can turn our loneliness into something positive. For example, instead of scrolling through social media, you can read a book or learn something new. These activities can help you feel more fulfilled and less lonely. Another important Stoic idea is that we should not compare ourselves to others. When we feel lonely, we often look at other people and think they have perfect lives. We think they have more friends or are happier than we are. But the Stoics knew that this kind of thinking only makes us feel worse. They believed that everyone has challenges and that no one's life is perfect. Instead of comparing ourselves to others, we should focus on our own journey and on becoming the best version of ourselves. The Stoics also believed in the importance of nature. They spent time outdoors and connected with the natural world. They believe that nature has a calming effect and can help us feel more grounded. When we feel lonely, spending time in nature can help us feel more connected to the world. It reminds us that we are part of something bigger and that we are never truly alone. Finally, the Stoics believed in the power of acceptance. They knew that life is not always easy and that we will face challenges, including loneliness. But instead of fighting against these challenges, they accepted them as part of life. They believed that by accepting our feelings, we can find peace. When we accept our loneliness, we can start to see it as an opportunity for growth, rather than as a problem. In conclusion, the Stoics had many ways to deal with loneliness. They believed in focusing on what we can control, practicing gratitude, and finding purpose in life. They taught us to accept our feelings and use them as a chance to grow. They believed in the power of self-discipline, community, and nature. And most importantly, they believed that true happiness comes from within. By following these Stoic principles, we can learn to deal with loneliness in a healthy and positive way. Loneliness is not something to fear. It is a natural part of life, and it can be a powerful teacher. When we face it with courage and use it as an opportunity for growth, we can become stronger, more independent, and more connected to the world around us.